Do you want to get this vocal sound for free?
Fall in love for the night. Deep feelings in the spotlight. I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
I'm going to show you my favorite free plugins for your vocal channel strip in 2022. The first plugin I have on my channel strip is pitch correction, and I found this awesome plugin for free. It's called Grauyon or Grailyon, depending on where you are in the world. And this one's really great. This is the free version. There is a full version as well, but you can get a lot done even just with the free one. So I'm going to just play this vocal without any tuning on it, just so you can hear what it sounds like as just the natural recording, no processing.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So the performance is pretty good, but depending on the style of music that you're making, you might want to add a little bit more tuning or maybe some obvious tuning. So let's start digging into this plugin. The two parameters that I tend to use the most are here in the correction section, and the first one is enable, and the second one is smooth. Enable is essentially how much you want the vocal to be tuned, so how perfect do you want it to be, and smooth is really how fast or slow it snaps into that corrected pitch. If you want to have something that's a little bit more natural, go a little slower on smooth, and don't go into full correction here. If you want to sound more extreme, turn it all the way up to full and make the smoothness really fast. So let's do a comparison of the two.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So you can see that's a very robotic, intentional tuning sound. And for this particular song, I don't really want that. I want it to be a little bit more smooth. Well, luckily with this plugin, you can do that. So I'm going to turn the correction down a little bit and I'm going to smooth it out and just try to find that happy space where it's definitely tuned, so it's correcting to the right pitch, but it's not super artificial and robotic.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
Cool, I like the way that that sounds. This plugin also has an area where you can do pitch shift and play with the formant, so let's experiment a little bit with that sound.
I don't wanna be polite.
Flow with me from the inside. I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So I might not use that particular effect on this song, but I could definitely see myself using that somewhere else. This is really great for free. Totally recommend this plugin. Next on my channel strip, I like to add an EQ. This is one of my favorite free EQs. In fact, I've been using it for years. This is the Slick EQ by Tokyo Dawn Labs. And if you're used to working with a parametric EQ that has some sort of visual element to it, this might be a little bit of a different interface for you, but it's actually really simple and self-explanatory. We have 3 bands: low, mid, and high, which all control different frequencies and the gain in each of those particular frequencies. And it also has a high pass filter. For vocals, I pretty much always will put a high pass just to get rid of any low end proximity effect or P's and B's. So I've got this one set to 125 hertz. And when I was listening to this voice, there was a little bit of harshness in it, like a little bit of bright sort of nasal feeling. So when I was approaching the EQ, I wanted to smooth it out, give it a little bit more body, and reduce a bit of the harshness. So the first part of the EQ I adjusted was the low end, and I decided to add just a little bit of a boost at 326 hertz. And that's just going to increase a little bit of the body of the vocal, give us just a little bit more thickness. And the way that I usually find whatever frequency it is that I want to adjust is to turn up the gain of that band by a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to leave it there, but it's a really good way to definitely hear exactly what frequency you're adjusting and find the right one that you want to either boost or cut. So I'm going to turn up that gain really high, take this frequency here and just move it around so you can hear what the difference is when I go to different frequencies.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside. I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
And even when this is turned all the way up, obviously it's not super pleasant, it's a little bit muffled, but that's the sound that I'm going for. I want that kind of chesty warmth coming in for the body of the voice, so I like this sort of 329, 330 area. So I'm going to turn that gain down to something a little bit more reasonable, maybe around like 3 dB, just to give it a little bit more boost in the body.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
The next frequency that I adjusted was about 4.3 kilohertz, which is very common. This range, or anything kind of between 2 and 5K, can be really harsh in our ears, and it's commonly cut on a lot of vocal EQs. So again, just to show you what this frequency is, get ready for it because it's going to be pretty harsh. I'm going to turn up the gain at 4.2K, and you'll hear exactly what I mean. It's definitely a harsh part of the vocal.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So yeah, I don't really want that. I'm not going to keep the gain up. I'm going to turn that down a little bit, just reduce it, and take some of the harshness away.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So whenever you're cutting something that's in like the high mids or like any sort of higher frequencies or brightness, sometimes you need to make up for that by just giving a little bit of boost in what they call the air frequencies, which is usually about 16K and up. Right here, I have a small boost in the high range of this EQ at 16.8K, and this is just bright airiness. Again, I'll turn up the gain really high so you can hear the frequency that I'm adjusting, and then turn it back to set a better balance.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside. I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
Cool. So just with those 3 bands, I've carved out the frequencies that I want, added a little bit, taken it away, and just make this vocal sound a little less harsh and a little more full. Really, really great stuff from that Slick EQ, also totally free. The next plugin I like to add on my channel strip is a compressor, and this one has to be one of the easiest compressors to use. This is the Klanghelm compressor. If you're used to using a compressor that has a lot more knobs on it or a lot more things to adjust, this is completely opposite to that. It really only has 2 knobs. The output is going to be the overall loudness or output that's coming from the compressed signal. So once it's gone through the compression process, how loud is it when it comes down the channel strip? And with the input, the more input you have, the more compression you're going to have. So if I wanted something that was gentle and didn't really get a lot of compression, so it's just sort of like taking care of a few of the peaks, then I would turn that input down a lot. And you'll probably see up here in this meter that it's only really reducing the gain just a little bit on those peaks.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So yeah, if you want to use this compressor as light compression, then turn that input down so that you see the gain reduction meter up here only just tickling some of those peaks. But if you really want the vocal to stand out, have more presence, and just more consistent dynamic throughout, turn that input gain up and you're going to see there'll be a lot more gain reduction happening, and the vocal is also going to be more full and more forward.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside. I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So this compressor is really simple to use and gives a great result. Next, we have our effects, and one of my favorite free reverbs out there is the Tall Reverb 2. Now, there are a couple other versions of Tall Reverb, but Tall 2 is kind of one of my favorites. I just really like the interface and I like the sound overall. So what I've done here for this particular voice is I've set a room size at about, this number says 0.76, but this is going to determine how big the space is and how long the reverb time is. So I had this as sort of a medium large room, so it's going to have some significant reverb there, which I like. But because I'm going to have a large space, I also put in 82 milliseconds of pre-delay. And when we're working with vocals, this is a really great tip. Putting pre-delay is going to give a number of milliseconds before the reverb actually kicks in. So it's great when you want like a heavy reverb sound, but you don't want the reverb to overwhelm the voice to the point where you can't understand the lyrics or it's kind of covering up all the consonants, etc. So this is a really great tip on a reverb like this. And then there's a pretty simple EQ on the reverb. I'm going to reduce some of the harsh high mid frequencies as well, just so the reverb isn't overly bright.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside. I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
Cool, let's adjust that room size a little bit more so it's just a little bit smaller.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
So I'm going to go over to my bus here and adjust how much reverb is on there just to kind of get a nice balance.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside. be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
Next up on our effects, we have delay, of course. For delay, I'm using one of my favorite plugins, which is the Valhalla Freak Echo. This is an awesome company. I love Valhalla. And the fact that this is free is even better. So what I've done is I've set up a quarter note delay time on this vocal. I've set the feedback to 43%, so it's got a lot of repetitions. I want that for this particular song, especially because there's a lot of space between the vocal phrases. And I've gone in and adjusted the EQ, high cut and low cut as well. This is a really great tip, especially for long delays. If you have a situation where you've repeated a word and it's got a lot of like S's and T's and any high frequency stuff that's repeating multiple times, sometimes that can be distracting or annoying to the listener. So add a high cut, which is going to cut off some of those high frequencies in only the delayed signal. I like to do that a lot, and I also like to utilize a low cut as well if I want to get more of like a band passed delay sound. So let's hear how this sounds.
I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside. I don't wanna be polite. Flow with me from the inside.
All right, last but not least, I put a little effect on our backing vocal sample here. So there's a sample in this production that's just a little vocal chop, and I really like the sound of it, but I wanted to see if we could spice it up a little bit. So here's how it sounds just by itself. And that's cool, it's interesting, it's fun, there's a bit of reverb ambience on there, but I wanted to see if we could give it a little bit more dimension and some more stereo feeling. So I went for another one of my favorite free plugins, and that's Pancake 2. This is such an easy effect to add, and it gives you a lot of movement from left to right in stereo. All you have to do is go up to this section here and choose the actual speed or note value that you want the panning to be. So in this case, because this is synced to the BPM, I want it to be at a quarter note because I want it to move from left to right at a quarter note speed. So it's going to be bouncing back and forth. So let's see how that sounds. You can speed it up or slow it down, whatever you like, whatever works for your song, but I personally love how this sounds in the context of the mix. All right, now that I've added all my plugins, let's listen to the vocal with no processing at all in the mix. And now with all of our free vocal plugins.